The movie begins with a house flipper, Simon, talking to his estranged wife, Beverly. They are both discussing their responsibility to their son, Finn. But this doesn't end well when Finn says, "I hate you," to his mom. Simon takes his 12-year-old son, Finn, from New York City to rural Vermont to renovate an old farmhouse for a house flipping. Simon doesn't tell Beverly the entire truth because Beverly feels house flipping is a gamble. Simon tries to make the time they will spend at the farmhouse the best for his son. He gets toys for Finn, who complains that the toys are not for kids his age. Simon and Finn are surprised to find a man in their house. The man introduces himself as Lewis, an electrician, and also their neighbor. Lewis has been staying in the neighborhood since he was little and has a lot to say about the farmhouse. Lewis tells them a story of a lady who was staying on the farm when he was a kid. This lady named Lydia was called a witch by the kids in the neighborhood, but Lydia died, and Lewis believed that she had continued staying in the farmhouse. The woman had a husband and a son, but they had died and people believed Lydia had killed them. People had this thought because she wasn't known for good deeds. However, Lydia didn't seem to be bothered and even enjoyed the fearsome reputation. Lydia had a habit of sitting on an armchair and staring out of her window, watching passers-by. She died in that spot, but was only noticed 3 to 4 weeks later, and that's how the name, The Witch in the Window, came about. Simon and Finn don't seem bothered by Lewis, and they both continue the renovation of the house, and this seems to be strengthening the relationship between the father and son. This doesn't last long when they begin to notice the presence of a third party living in the farmhouse. Simon hears the movement in the house while Finn sees a woman in the mirror. The next morning, Finn wakes up to hear a voice saying he had a dream that Lydia had told him what she was going to do with him. Finn, who thought it was his dad, kept on giving this voice a reply, but Finn is startled when he realizes his father has been working downstairs all this while. Finn and Simon are having a father-to-son talk where Simon tries to explain why parents lie, and also that the things his mother, Beverly, had done were only to protect him. Simon does this because Finn's relationship with his mom seems to be a rough one. Their relationship seems to get stronger each minute as Simon opens up to a suspicious Finn, accepting that he wasn't ever planning on selling the house after the renovation, but wanted to live there together once again as a happy family. They are, however, distracted by the noise coming from downstairs, but when they get there, they both can't find what caused the disturbance. Finn calls the attention of his dad to a room upstairs, where a woman is sitting on a rocking chair. This woman looks exactly like Lydia. Simon is reluctant to take any step closer to this woman, but his son Finn confidently walks to the woman's place to have a closer view of what is happening. The two get a bit relaxed thinking Lydia is dead, but immediately she opens her eyes and begins to chase them. Without thinking twice, Simon starts the car, leaving the farmhouse behind with Lydia staring through the window. Simon, for the safety of his son, places a call to Beverly, telling her he would be sending Finn back to New York City. If every horror movie acted like this, we would probably have fewer horror movies. Finn is nowhere close to happy after hearing this news, and neither is Beverly eager to have her son back home. Simon and Finn decide to spend the night in Lewis's house. Lewis also has a son about Finn's age. Lewis explains to Simon that before they came, he had seen Lydia, and after that things weren't right with him as he had begun to sleepwalk. Lewis had figured out that Lydia was only present when the power was on, and he had cut off the lights in the farmhouse, and this seemed to have worked. The small victory did not last long because Simon, after buying the farmhouse, employed Lewis, who is also an electrician, to fix the light problem, and the effect made Lydia's spirit grow stronger. Lewis advises Simon to leave the farmhouse, but Simon disagrees, saying he had bought the farmhouse because of his wife Beverly, who had always dreamed of having a perfect country home, and then convincing his estranged wife Beverly and his son Finn to stay with him and reunite as a family in the farmhouse. Simon is rooted on renovating the farmhouse to get Beverly to love him. He believes he can make the farmhouse a good house again. The next morning, Simon sends a sad-looking Finn to New York City to meet his mom, while he stays back to complete the renovation. Simon focuses on his work, ignoring any sound, but he's surprised to see Finn at the farmhouse. Simon keeps his cool but plans on sending Finn off to New York City the following morning. Simon and Finn get emotional when Finn admits to Simon that he's his favorite person. Simon, still having an emotional conversation with Finn, receives a phone call from Beverly, which Finn begged him not to answer. Simon ignores Finn and picks up the call. Beverly had called because, after Finn's arrival, he had kept to himself. Simon, still in doubt because Finn was right there with him, asks Beverly to hand the phone to Finn. Simon is stunned to hear Finn's voice, and immediately after ending the call, the Finn sitting next to him turns into Lydia. Simon runs out of the house to meet Louis, with Lydia trailing behind him. But Simon meets the shock of his life when Louis refuses to help him because he hadn't left the house when he had told him to. Simon wakes up from his sleep only to realize he was dreaming. Nevertheless, he runs to his car, but he is shocked to see himself trapped in the window and hitting a glass window screaming for help. Lydia appears to Simon in the form of Beverly. She makes it known to him that he has the opportunity to go back to his home or live as she did. She lists out the disadvantages he might encounter if he went home. If he stayed, he was going to be free. Lydia's spirit was simply trapped in the farmhouse for many years, and Simon was to serve as a replacement for her. Simon, probably not wanting his effort, time, and money to waste, chooses the option to stay in the farmhouse. Simon continues his renovation without any disturbance. Somehow, we're meant to take wasted time, effort, and money as worthy trade-ins for becoming a ghost. Beverly places a call to Simon, telling him that she and Finn seemed to be getting along a little bit, and he had allowed her to have access to his phone. Beverly had found out about Simon's plan through Finn's phone. She gives her appreciation, but Beverly has buts about moving to the farmhouse. All this while, Lydia had been sitting next to Simon, quietly listening to his conversation, and Simon doesn't seem to be bothered by this. Louis, who is sleepwalking, is shocked to see Simon sitting on an armchair as he stares blankly through the window, just the way Lydia had did. Finn and Beverly pay a visit to the farmhouse after Simon's burial. While checking out the house, Finn sees a letter from his dad which reads, "Hi, bucko. It's a good house again, if you want it. I haven't left, and I never will. Love, Dad." But Finn hides the letter from his mom. The movie ends with Finn and his mother both living happily in the farmhouse, as the two seem to have come past their differences. Finn, before going to sleep, places his hand on the wall and wishes his dad good night. That's going to wrap up this recap. We hope you've enjoyed it. If so, please click the subscribe button with notifications turned on so you don't miss a single video.